Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Um, do we need to introduce each other? This is David Lebovitz from Paris,
and this is Yotam Ottolenghi from London.
and we're going to talk about many things, but we're going to focus on brunch
Mhm,
and all the fun things that you can make. So, brunch seems to be like a good time because considering we're on so many time zones,
mhm.
it feels the safest, right?
Well, it's also the weekend and that sort of brunch. And we don't really do brunch in Paris. It's not really, it's not a thing to wake up early and go out to have something to eat. But at home, we often have sort of a lunchy, brunchy kind of thing. Or we'll go out for oysters at like 11 and maybe have a little white wine or something. Uh, I shouldn't probably
Yeah,
say that live. We're drinking wine, but it's France. That's what we do on the weekends, and that's why we
it's
live in
absolutely
France.
okay.
So it's great to
And
see you, by the way. I just want to say I've known you. I met you when you were many years ago. I remember we have the same publisher in the United States, and it's been wonderful to see your evolution over the years. And you're still just a very nice person. And all of my neighbors are very jealous because they're like banging at the door trying to get in to see you. So,
they think we're actually sharing a room,
yeah.
but
So we have a
I
guest room if you ever need a place to stay, a studio. So.
thank you. And it's likewise, I say like my kids say same. So it's yeah, we met on stage. I think it was about 10 years ago in San Francisco when you interviewed me. Was that before you moved to Paris or was it it
I
was
think
in
I was visiting San
2015?
Francisco. I was visiting
Yeah.
San Francisco, and you were on a book tour, and it was your last day. And people don't realize like book tours are really fun, but you're really tired because you're getting up at like 4:30 in the morning. You're going to a city, you're meeting people, you're trying to get to your hotel. You haven't had coffee, you need to shave, go to the bathroom, and then you arrive, and you did a really great job. But when it's over, you're always like, I'm going to sleep really well tonight.
I know, and I also, people always think that when after we're on stage, we go out and get drunk and but I always go straight back to the hotel because there's always another event the following day. So it's actually ends up pretty tame, right?
Well, you also have kids, so you're used to you have a tamer life in some ways.
Yes,
You can't go out and party and so forth. So that prepares you for book tour. But I love all
that's right.
one thing about, I wanted to ask you about, you come up with these books, you come up with all these ideas, and you used to be a baker, if I'm not mistaken. You started
That's
out as a
right.
baker.
Yeah.
And you're still one of us. We still have you. You're welcome to be part of our group still, even though
I'm I,
you've gone to the spicy side, I should say, to the savory side. I've dipped into the savory side, but you come up with these book ideas and all these recipes, and they're always original and new, and they're not. They're sort of derivative sometimes of classic Levantine, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern food, but they're your own really unique take. And do you have a hard time writing a cookbook or is it easy? And what's the most fun part and sort of the hardest part for you?
so I would say so. Thank you for these compliments, and I'll repay in a minute.
Okay.
But I think I would like to say that yeah, writing cookbooks is what I do most of. So how I spend the majority of my time, and I love doing it. And as you know, as you've noticed, recently, I've got a team. There's always people
Mhm.
more than just myself, and I constantly get inspired by chefs and cooks and other professionals around me. There's always conversations about food that I love having, and each project is kind of it's a collaboration between myself and one or two other people who kind of come together with ideas. The last book I did with Helen, Verena, and
Mhm.
Tara, so also people that I've been working with for many years. Before that, Ista and Noor. So I've always had these collaborations, and I find the process really amazing. And if you ask me which bit I like the least, it's the bit in the middle. So I love coming up with idea, and my favorite bit is shooting the food, like
Yeah,
photographing
that's
the food, and because it's your one chance to make it look amazing and all that. I
Mhm.
mean, it's quite crucial. So there's a lot of stress around it, but when you get it right, it's amazing. It's the best feeling you can absolutely have when you get a wonderful shot of something that you worked on for so long. And I think you have that sensibility because you are also very much photographically focused, right? Driven, and from your books and from what you put on social media and on Substack as well, there's always something really delicious. And I think you and I both kind of we're kind of a similar generation that kind of really adopted the idea of how important food, the visuals are, and what that does
And
to
also to
food.
make,
So that go on.
I mean, you did something. I remember when your first book came out, and was it 2008, and when I saw it, if I get, it was called Ottolenghi, the cookbook, and I got sent a
Yeah, with
copy,
Sammy.
and it was just it was like food on the plate, and I don't want to say thrown on the plate because it sounds bad, but it was just put on the plate, and that's sort of how people eat, and it just sort of broke a lot of these barriers about how food is supposed to look in a cookbook. Is it supposed to be perfect? Is it okay to have parsley, falling off the side of the plate? And there is a certain amount of food styling involved because I just we just shot one of my books here in my kitchen in Paris, and they were doing I have great food stylists, but I was like, let's mess this up a little bit, and they're like, okay, you know. That's like, and I would take, and they liked me because actually they said a lot of times people don't probably realize this, is the author is often not on the set or involved with the photography, and sometimes they
Yeah,
don't want them there because they don't necessarily, I probably shouldn't say this, it's live and whatever, but some authors don't, according to food stylists, they don't have a good style sense.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't even start to think of someone else styling my book because for me
Yeah.
it's all part of that same kind of approach. So I kind of see the visuals as the recipes come to life. So makes a lot of sense. Can I just stop for 1 second? I need to go and grab feta from the fridge because I left it there by mistake.
Okay.
There will be food. It won't be a second.
Okay. Well, when he
And
comes
you can
back,
talk later.
okay. Did you see what he was wearing? Oh my God. So one of the things I wanted to, oops.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay,
So I
whoops.
just wanted to say why I went to the fridge. So we promised food, and this is the some spinach and sautéed onion that I
Ah,
did. So I'm doing a kind of a frittata, and
okay.
I'm trying
I,
to do a demo. You know what? I'll move the thing a
okay,
little
I
bit, and
just
then you
wanted to
can.
show these off to you. I don't want to take away from your frittata, but I found the first strawberries of the season this morning, and I'm showing them off because they
Oh,
smell good.
and can you taste it for us?
I can.
Tell me.
Mm, mm.
Good.
And yep, it's good. It's red all the way through. And you can see that they're red, they're ripe, they don't have white shoulders, as they say. Mm,
Yeah,
they're really good.
they're
Oh my God.
really good. There's nothing like we don't always have good strawberries here. The season is short.
Mm.
But so can I just tell you what I did? I put the
Yes.
feta in the middle of the egg with the sautéed onion, cumin, as and garlic, and I'm just gonna put some cumin on top and olive oil and stick it in the oven for 20 minutes, and I'll show you it when it comes out.
Okay,
Switch back.
so I was
Hold
thinking
on.
about this as you were getting the feta. I was like,
Okay.
that's your next book, Ottolenghi Feta. Because feta is such a great all-purpose um, food product or food. It's salty, it's creamy, it's got guts for cheese. It's not just cheese and melted. It really adds a lot of flavor, and there's a lot of different flavors. So maybe that's your next book, Ottolenghi Feta.
I know, you know what? I always feel like it's a cheat because feta is already so good. So you
Yeah.
kind of save yourself so much work when you put it in a recipe. But I mean, like, who cares? Everybody loves it. It's such a wonderful cheese, and there's varieties and there's different qualities. But once you find the one that you like, you can really kind of almost throw it into anything, like even like a vegetable stew. That's been cooking
Mhm.
for a long time. You can do root vegetables, for example, like carrots and turnips and all those things. It's delicious, but once you kind of sprinkle some feta on top, it's like raises the bar
Yeah.
so much. All of a sudden, feta, olive oil, and a bunch of coriander, and it turns into this celebration of flavor.
Yeah, time or well, when I saw your picture of your omelet, you had done a little video of making it a few days
Yeah.
ago, a little tease, And I was like, wow, I never thought about serving this dish. I'm terrible at entertaining. Like all these people are like, oh, here's how to entertain. You make everything in advance. You hang out with your guests and drink wine. Then you go in the kitchen and bring all the food out. It's like that never, ever, ever happens. And I was like,
That's
this is a great dish because you could actually make it in advance, put it in the, and then put it in the oven like 15 minutes before, and then
yeah.
actually have drinks with guests. And even if you're a little tipsy, you can't really screw it up. So,
No, which is I always, this is the sort of exactly you took the words right out of my mouth because the entertaining bit sounds like fun, but it's always quite stressful when you need to produce something. There's expectations, and you think, oh,
yeah.
it needs to be great, and
Speaking,
everything that you can make in advance and warm up and finish off with a
mhm.
salsa, with a sauce, with feta, with the chili, it makes so much more sense than kind of working really hard.
So do
Yeah.
people, speaking of entertaining, do
Yeah.
people invite you to parties? Because like if you were my house guest for a week, I'd be like, oh my God, I was gonna swear, sorry. I was gonna be like, oh shoot, I've got to get up at like 5:30 and like juice pomegranates for Yotam. He's probably used to all these things. And he probably has like a special tea he has to drink in the morning.
if
Are you
you'd
an
know
easy guest?
if you'd know how wrong you are, then you'd have
Okay.
no stress whatsoever. Because and I'm in some ways I'm so greedy that I'm really happy with anything that I'm given.
Okay.
It's everything like that. But I want to ask you something. So David, I mean, we I want you to talk about your croissant first in a
Okay.
moment. But before you do that, and I just want to say to you and to everybody who's watching us that I've just place the feta in the middle of the frittata. And well, I gave it a bit of steam and put it in
Oh,
the oven. So I'll show it again once it's done. But I wanted to ask you something a little bit about your life in Paris, because it seems like that you're constantly having a great time. It is like you go to antique markets, you go to restaurants,
yeah.
you go to bakeries,
Uh-huh.
you bake, you cook. What is the hardship in your life? When do you struggle?
How much time do we have?
Yeah.
um, well, it's funny because I'm writing two cookbooks and I did one right after the other. And I'm like, whose idea was this? So for the last year, I've kind of been involved in doing those, a lot of writing, a lot of recipe testing, which keeps you at home. But the other side of that is one of the books is about chocolate. And the whole world of chocolate has changed, and I'm trying to make the book more oriented toward Paris because I've been living here for 23 years now. And the chocolate, Paris is a very chocolate oriented city. France is very, there's all this stuff going on in the chocolate world. So I'm going out and exploring all these new places. So that's really fun. My daily life is, it's like everywhere else. I don't have kids. Anytime I think like I'm busy and stressed, I think of people like you that who are like busy and stressed and have kids. Because if I had kids, I'd be like, "You're going in the other room for 7 hours. I'm going to watch like three shows on TV." Because it's like I just need a minute. So I actually just read a friend of my newsletter, Louisa Weiss. She wrote about taking vacations separate from her husband. She's like, it's really actually nice to just cook when you want, eat when you want, and so forth. And so that's kind of my thing, but I'm glad to know you're an easy guest.
And I don't want to, if you
Oh.
spoil the surprise of the book or the books actually, but could you just maybe just share a couple of recipes? I don't know, just something that comes to your mind, like ideas that have been evolving, or what you tested yesterday, or just anything that comes to mind.
Well, a successful recipe is the one that you eat all the you won't give away. Everyone's always like, "What do you do with all these desserts?" And you give away cake, you give away brownies, you give away cookies. The things that you don't give away are the things that that are really like the winners of the book. These are, I can't believe you got me to tell you this. These are these caramelized cocoa nibs. And it sounds kind of boring, but when I made them, it was like this big chunk that came out of the oven of crystallized. It was like chocolate, and cocoa nibs aren't sweet with a little bit of caramel around them. And I was gonna pull out some big chunks, but I've been eating them. It's like granola when you make it, you eat all the big chunks. Yeah. So these are so
That's-
good. I'm
and so
like,
they're gonna be in a book.
mm, yeah, and they're easy. But they're so good. They don't look good, I'm sorry to say.
Oh, they do look good. I'm sorry. The strawberries looked a bit better,
No.
but they look very, very good. And should we talk about the almond croissant? Do you want to go? Oh,
Yes.
here we go. Yeah, I've
Okay.
been reading them all.
So there's a joke that people like to tell when you say, "Oh, use any leftover wine in the dish, or any leftover cheese you can put." And people go, "What's leftover cheese?" Ha ha ha. Well, like you have a bakery and a restaurant, leftovers are expensive, and croissant they have butter. They're quite challenging to make, and French people are very thrifty. Um, so bakeries don't want to throw out croissant. Excuse me, I've got cocoa nibs in my throat.
Yeah, that's a dream.
Yeah. Unless you're choking on them and you're live, then it's a little bit of a nightmare. Anyway, so croissant, when they're not good the next day. So bakeries came up with these almond croissants, and what you do to make them, um, and we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna shift focus really quickly because maybe after I talk, I'm gonna talk about my favorite kitchen tip. We'll do that afterwards. We're gonna get to our favorite new
Okay.
kitchen tip. Okay, so you take croissant, and I've got four here, and you cut them open like this.
David, can I just stop you? They have to
Yep.
be a day old, right? Ideally you want to make almond croissants with a day old croissant, right? Or can they be fresh?
They can be fresh, but it's like croutons, for like bread pudding or things like that. When they're day old, they soak up more liquid.
That's
So,
right.
and people often say, "Oh, the French, they don't like sweet things," and blah blah blah. I'm like, they love sweet things. Are you kidding me? What? There's like 1,300 bakeries in Paris. Um, so these are actually quite easy to make. They're filled with frangipane, but the first thing you want to do is soak them in syrup. So I made a sugar syrup here, and I'm going to put the recipe in my newsletter this week. So all the exact quantities will be there. And you can put kirsch, you can put rum in the syrup a little bit, or I got I got this for you. This is orange flower water, and this is from
Oh,
my
that's
friend's
perfect.
bakery. It's from Maison Aleph. I don't know if you've been there in
I
Paris.
have been there. I love
Yeah,
that place.
yeah, and there's there's a big difference between good and not good orange flower water, as you know more than me. And this is really good.
Really.
She told me to take a teaspoon of it before I go to bed every night, and I'll sleep better. So I haven't
If
taken her advice, as you can see.
if you take a teaspoon before you go, if you can actually take a teaspoon, it's a good sign because the really bad ones are like so
Okay.
artificial and horrible that you wouldn't be able to do that. It'd be a total nightmare. But I think adding like a syrup to that,
Uh-huh.
like a really good vanilla syrup or orange
Yeah.
blossom or anything
Oh,
like that makes a lot of sense.
I never. It's interesting because in France they don't. In America, we add vanilla to bake everything. It's like salt. We put vanilla in everything. And in France, if you put vanilla in, you have to add it to the title. Like if I put vanilla in the syrup, you'd have to say like, "These are almond vanilla croissant." Like,
So formalistic.
yeah. But it's okay. There are good things about France too. Like this morning, I went and had
I know
oysters
that.
and wine. So what you want to do is you want to soak the croissant super liberally with the syrup.
You know,
Um,
when I was working doing that job professionally, we would have this massive gastro tray full of sugar syrup,
oh
and
yeah,
we'd take them and like dip them in and take them out, and
yeah.
then put them on a rack to dry. So rather than brush, you just like pour them in, and pull them out. Which is, I don't, not everyone, but yeah, I mean, the brush is a great solution, but it's also
Well,
an option.
I used to hate these because I was like, I need a brush. I need natural bristles. I need to be. And then I realized you can put these in the dishwasher, and there are no bristles. Like you don't see any blue
I know.
things. I'm like, okay, I've gone the dark side of. Um, so what you want to do is you want to put this is frangipan, and I I put these in these bowls because I kind of wanted to make you jealous. These are these little cassoulet bowls
Oh,
I
okay.
got in the south of France, and I just love these for everything. They're like €3 each, $3, and
You're making me jealous, and
I
everybody
know.
else that's watching.
Well, we go to this place. They don't ship. It's a family, and every time I go there, I spend like 500 euros. But
David, everybody has the French fantasy, and you live the French fantasy, which is highly annoying, I have to say.
that's going to be that's going to be the quote from my next book. David Lebovitz is highly annoying. Yotam Ottolenghi, author of Feta, with introduction by David Lebovitz.
Yeah, I get it. Everything is better with Feta. That's what we say. Okay,
There
we
you
got.
go. So, so I've sandwiched 2 tablespoons of frangipane inside, and I'm going to do something that's probably freaks people out, but you flatten it,
Yes,
so it's flat, and then you put a little bit more frangipane on top.
I'm so glad you did that.
You have to,
You really have to, because
yeah,
otherwise, how are the almonds going to stick as well?
yeah. And I've got my little cassoulet bowl with a little spout. I'll send you some if you leave your address in the messages, and I'll in the messages, and
You
I'll
don't.
send you
You're just saying that. I'm sure. You're just saying that. I'm sure it
no.
will never arrive.
Now I'm going to be obsessed with getting you some bowls. Anyhow, so these almonds go on top, and that's it. It goes in the oven just like this for 15 minutes. And I made some this morning, and I have to say, all morning my partner has been begging me to have one. I said, "You can't have one because they're for
Because it's for
Yotam
me.
Ottolenghi." Yeah. so these I made this morning. When I brush them out, I'll lift one up. I brush them with powdered
Oh,
sugar.
they look so good. They really, really look so good. Are they crunchy?
You'll find out in just a minute,
Okay.
Mister. So I haven't had one today. They're not supposed to be super crunchy, but they are because of the sugar syrup. And my partner's watching me. He's like, "How do you?" Anyway,
There's enough there for him as well.
mm, mm, mm.
Because the edges of them, they when they soak the sugar
Yeah,
syrup and the sugar kind of crystallize inside the croissants, those are the best bits.
yeah,
They're kind of the crispy edges. That
yeah.
looks amazing. That looks like
Mm,
I'd say you really want to eat that.
mm.
Well, I do. Who wouldn't?
This is why I'm not on television because I remember when ever I've done like national television in like America, when you have these hosts, they always eat the smallest amount because they don't want to have their mouth full for like. So they're like, "Oh, let me taste that." Like, oh, that crumb is so good. Oh, it's the best
So
crumb.
good, but I
And I'm
haven't
like,
tasted anything.
like,
And they
mm.
in American TV, the cooking segments are so quick and fast. I mean, you don't go on, you say a word or two, and then you're whisked off for different segments.
Well, also when you're baking, you're always the last segment of the show. So all of a sudden, there's been some political thing or some fire or something, and they're like, "Okay, your 3 minute segment is now 24 seconds. Can you make the souffle?" It's like, "Oh, sure."
The souffle is coming. Um,
So what do you have any? I'm going to tell you my kitchen tip, and then you can tell me yours if we have a moment.
yeah, kitchen tip. Yeah, tell me your kitchen tip.
Okay. So I'm going to give a shout out to my friend George Dolis, who is a food stylist who came to Paris to work on my book. But I knew him from San Francisco, and we never worked together. So I had to move to Paris to work with him. And he's just a wonderful guy. And he brought all this stuff. It was like a dream come true. He brought me like King Arthur flour and like parchment baking sheets and stuff. But he brought these. And I was
Oh,
like, okay,
towels?
yeah, you're not excited yet because you're probably
No.
excited when I show you like fancy
Oh
French kitchen.
yeah, yeah. The
Okay,
linens, French linen.
that's fine. These are amazing. You use these for everything. You keep a stat. There's actually, he brought like 50 of them. And I was like, don't leave them. It's okay. Take them with you. He's like, I'm going to leave them. And I use them all. We use them for everything in the house. And when you're done, you can dry them out and then you just put them in the washing machine. So they're very
So,
ecological. You put them with your laundry.
so they're good for wiping surfaces, taking things out of the oven, mopping your brow. Very
Yeah.
good, very
Yeah.
good. Very hygienic.
Like messy handles. They're amazing and they're not long. So you're not like folding them up and everything.
I love them. I love them. They are really the ultimate.
Okay, I'm going to send you some of these instead of the bowls. I hope you don't
Yeah,
mind.
you know what you can do? You can wrap the bowls in those towels so they
What?
don't break. You
I'm
can't
sorry,
hear me.
I can't hear you. What? I think we have a bad connection.
It's a terrible connection. But I will remind you on and by email of all my requirements.
Okay. I think you and I are having the most fun of all the people who
Yeah,
have done
let's
that.
stop having fun now.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So I don't, I didn't, I thought when you said to me you're going to ask me for a tip, and
Yeah.
I actually thought you're going to ask me for a piece of equipment, and I thought, like, oh, what am I going to do? So everybody always wanted to see my spice drawer, and I'm going to do it for the first time. I'm going to take you to my spice drawer. It's messy, and I really didn't do anything because it's just there. So here it is,
Oh,
and
that's messy. Hello.
that's messy-ish. No. Anyway, so just to say, this is the best thing because there is these little shelves, but they're kind of half shelves, and
Okay.
you can actually see the spices by
Okay.
name. So you don't have that's my my tip, and it's really really useful because I think everybody's problem when you have all the there we go. That felt very intimate. I don't know why. Um,
It's your spice drawer. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like your underwear drawer. Like you don't even
yeah,
want
it's
everyone
a
to see
bit
it,
like
but
that.
yeah.
Um,
So,
so that oh, thanks, Kitai, for looking for them.
so what do you think
So
of this tool?
the garlic crush,
Yes,
you
I
know,
just got one, and it's caused
yeah,
quite a situation in my newsletter.
it's a good one. There's some snobbish chefs that hate it, and they really want you to spend forever to mince garlic by hand on a chopping
Uh-huh.
board, which is fine if they want to. But I just find this so useful. I've been using it for many, many years, and I think it could anything you want to mince garlic for it. This is useful, and the thing comes out. It's easy to wash, and
Okay.
it's
You know what the
wonderful.
problem though is? It leaves like a bunch of garlic in the thing that's solid, and I have to take it because I don't want to waste anything, and I have to take it out and chop it.
Oh no, that's wrong.
So then
So
everybody said to
you
get the IKEA one, and I did that, and it's the same problem.
that
So
there's always bits of you're just worried you've been in France for too long and you just don't want to waste anything, right? That's what we're
that's
talking
true.
about? Yeah.
But the thing is, well, I can just between us, when you live with
There's
somebody
nobody
else,
else watching.
you know, and you try to keep your one cutting board for garlic and the other for fruit. Um, you do your best, and then you come downstairs one day and you see somebody, you know, chopping garlic on your fruit cutting board, and you kind of, you know, as an ex pastry person like yourself or me, you know, you don't, you know, it's like people storing aioli in the plastic tubs that you're gonna put ice cream in. So I
This
got
is not,
this.
yeah, no, I get that. And also, I mean, when you think about, I mean, there's worse thing. I mean, things. Imagine what happens when someone puts your best knives in the dishwasher. That has
I kind
happened
of
to
gave
me.
up on fancy. I have to a big secret. I gave up on fancy knives. Like when I was a restaurant cook, we had all German knives, and now everyone uses these Japanese knives. And I remember people would grab your knife. They're like, "Can I borrow your knife?" And they're like opening a metal can.
Oh,
And I won't
a
mention
lot of
any names, but some famous chefs do that.
do they? I
Not
just
mentioning.
talking about the garlic press for a second. There's a lot of people singing the praises of the IKEA garlic press, and so you say no. He said no when and disappeared to his drawer. But may I just say, David is not showing his drawer. He's a little bit either shy or he's got something to hide.
Well, this is the IKEA one, and I'm going to the dishwasher now. We've got
So now you're going to show us a dirty garlic press. Do you think everybody wants to see that?
okay.
How's that looking? Okay, let me
I'm not
see.
anti. Okay,
Oh yeah, that's good.
so in order to put
Yeah,
this in, you have to flip that up. Okay,
yeah.
these are all like very minor world problems, but I'm just gonna say when you cook all the time. So to put this in, when there's a garlic clove in there, it doesn't go in straight. And it
I
also
totally
doesn't get all the
agree.
garlic out like the other one. So it's okay. The price is good. You do have to go to IKEA to buy it or have it delivered. Um, but
I think I'm just going to bring one, and I don't know where it's from, so that's going to irritate a lot
oh,
of people.
is that the
But it's,
Kuhn? Is that the Swiss one that's 60 euros, sixty
oh,
dollars?
sorry, don't shame me for
No,
wasting money on
'cause-
an expensive garlic crush. Yeah, that's
no.
like £1,000 or something.
This is the best. This, okay. This is going to be our third. We're going to do kitchen things, but people recommended that one. It's like 60 US dollars or 60 euros. I don't know
Yeah,
pounds anymore, but this pepper thing is kind of wild because you just go back and forth,
and
and
it's
it's
wow.
and it's like
Oh
clearly,
gosh, that looks so. Ah, so you can collect, you can control the grade. Oh, the grade. He's in love with it. I have children, and you get a
yeah,
pepper mill.
yeah. I will send you bowls. Okay, I got to start making a list here.
Yeah. I have. I don't know what I'm going to send you. I know what I'm sending you. Blocks and blocks of feta,
Okay.
so you can
Well, you'll
cook
be the
recipes
house
for my
guest from
next book.
hell, the one who steals stuff. It's like, where's my garlic? Where's my peppermint?
So the dish is nearly ready. I want to go and put it under the grill. So say something while I do that, okay? Say
Okay.
something interesting.
Oh gosh, upcoming travel
No.
tips. Somebody said to me, where are you going? And it's interesting because I'm going to Japan next year. Well, in
Oh
the
yeah.
fall, and I've only been once, and I was there and I was
Right.
working, so I wasn't allowed to go anywhere because I was working all the time. And
Yeah.
everything I ate was amazing. I loved being there, but I was working. So I love things like don't touch the taxi door. Like the driver will has this thing that opens it, and I love all that ritual in Japan. So I'm really looking. Have you been to Japan?
Yeah, I have been to Japan. I love everything, all the rituals. I love the food, and I just love the fact that as soon it's almost. I mean, there's certain countries in the world where people are. I don't know. There's many, but the obsession with food and how it should be done, how it should be presented in restaurants. I just like when I was in Japan. It was quite a few years ago. I always used to just. I'd see a very long queue outside somewhere,
Mhm.
and I would just go and stand in the queue, and I'd know that something really good awaits at the very end, and
Uh-huh.
often it would be like an incredible cakes. They are obsessed with cakes. The Japanese, like particular delicious cakes that people would queue for hours. When I was there, it was quite a long time ago. There was these cakes you would know, David, because you're an expert about those that are cooked as on a spit,
Oh,
as they.
yeah.
What is that called?
I don't know what it's called in Japanese. They Swedish. They do them.
Yeah,
There's a
so
name
it's
for it.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's drizzled on top as it turns, and then you get these wonderful layers that you cut through, and it's the textures are amazing. And
Yeah.
so I'd come across a few of those as I was traveling, and people are waiting, I suppose, to have them fresh, or there's just a limited amount. So you get like people queuing around the corner, and I
Mhm.
joined one of those, and it was completely and utterly delicious.
Well, I had lunch with a friend yesterday who has a wonderful restaurant in Paris called Kubri. And when you come, we'll have to go there. It's wonderful Lebanese food. She was telling me about this place. It's like on the 17th floor of some building. And you go in and it's all teppanyaki, yakitori, or I guess yakitori is the right word, with skewers. She said it's like this massive hall and they just grill skewers and you go around and just eat.
Baumkuchen. That's what someone wrote down about
Ah,
those.
okay. Well,
Baum Kuchen.
well,
So
I'm
the
also
German name.
Well, my dream is also to go to one of those onsen places where you don't have your phone, you don't have clothes, you just wear a bathrobe, and you just walk around, you pat around on these like tatami floors, and they bring you food like an egg or like a perfect tangerine.
The
And
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
The first thing that that David asked me when we were just about to get on online was if I was wearing a kimono, and
yes.
I was wondering where this was going, but now I understand.
So, are you drinking coffee or tea? Are you a coffee or tea person?
I'm drinking tea. I'm
Okay.
drinking. I'm drinking a Fortnum and Mason black blend called Fort Mason, and it is infused with orange and
Okay.
orange blossom. I'm just going to check the grill. Hold on, because I'm smelling
Okay.
that it might be ready. Oh yeah! Oh my God! You got to see this. This looks so good. Sorry,
I'm
I'm
going to eat
saying
this
that.
croissant.
You're going to eat the croissant.
Well, no,
Here it
no.
is. I'm going to show everybody. How is the croissant? Oh, sorry, you were
I
not
can't
supposed
talk
to.
with my mouth full. Wow. Oh,
Looks good, right? Um,
I want that.
so you want that? Well, I'll send it to you as soon as I get the big
Good.
delivery of things that you owe me. Uh,
Romain came to get his almond.
oh, hello. What do you say?
Mm,
Good?
it's very good.
And French people don't lie. If they don't like something, they're like, not good.
J'adore les
No.
croissants aux amandes. It's very
Oh,
good.
you brought
Absolutely.
is you had to bring a bit of French in there. I knew that's like
Right.
for the myth.
The,
We're taking away from your omelet. Sorry. Okay, merci.
the
No, the omelet.
inspiration
I'm
for
done with
the
the omelet.
tea
Sorry.
that accompany.
Okay. Merci, Romain.
So
Sorry, the
I'm
drama
not.
of the omelet.
Okay, so it rose and now it's sinking a little bit,
Okay.
but effectively it's just this wonderful.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
thank you. No, oh no, that you were not supposed to see that. I need
Okay.
to turn it round. Here you go. So I'm just gonna put the fork in there, and the feta is really super soft. And I just want to say something. I'm gonna eat my mouth full. Okay. Yum. Like
Mm.
more than yum. It's really delicious, just like your almond croissant. But um. So the one important thing that I want to say is that when you some blocks of feta are quite thick, like I don't know, like more than an inch.
Uh-huh.
So it's quite important to shave it in half in the middle when you want the block of feta, because if you have a really thick block in there,
It won't
it
melt.
won't kind of cook or warm up properly by the time the frittata is cooked. So this one is actually just half a normal block that you get in the shop. And what are you bringing now? Have you got another tool to show off?
He's like making tea behind me. Like, I'm doing a live with Yotam Ottolenghi. He's really famous. Like, you guys, that's
What
yeah.
what tea is he making? Is Roman making?
We're going to talk about this omelet because I'm kind of obsessed with this frittata now because I'm obsessed with it. Um,
Okay, go
I've
ahead.
been obsessed with it since you showed it the other day because it has a lot of dill in it.
Yeah, I love. Sorry, not polite. I love dill. So it's not everybody loves dill, but I think it's and people always think like Northern Europe, Scandinavia, etc. It's really popular in
Mhm.
the Middle East, Persian cooking. It's one of those transformative herbs. So this has got dill, spinach. You can obviously uh,
You use
you
arugula
can
or kale.
yeah, you can use any of those. I think someone said that I need to show it again. Sorry. Here we go.
It's
Yeah, that's it.
beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm
I'm going to
gonna
turn it.
cry. I get sentimental.
Oh, please. I mean, and then you can send me your tears as well.
I gotta get it. Let me get a jar. I have a little
And
bowl. I have a little coffee bowl like this. I'll put
that's
the
perfect. So they can arrive in it.
yeah.
um so yeah, so this is really really nice, and you can make it even bigger. So if you have like I know 12 people over for brunch
Hmm.
or breakfast, you can make the whole egg mix the day before or in the morning, and then put in a big like a gratin dish and put a few blocks of feta and bring it to the table. It looks majestic, with different chili sauces or any condiment that you want, and then you just need bread, spreads, etc. And this is what I love about brunch, in the sense that you can actually it can make be you can make put as much work as you want. Like you could buy sliced hams and cheese, and you can have just egg in the middle, or you can make a couple of more dishes if you could like. You can make your almond croissants,
Hmm. Well,
which are
one thing that
yeah,
I've noticed a lot of people are using now, and maybe I mean I know that this is not new information, but chili crisp, and that's really good with eggs. Like something like that would be amazing
yeah,
because it's spicy and it's not too spicy. So in the more it's not like going to burn your mouth off. Um,
yeah. And the chili crisps, the good chili crisps have got a bit of sweetness in them as well. So
Mm.
often there's a bit of brown sugar or honey or something that goes into the crisp. And because there's salty feta in the middle, it works really well with that kind of sweet and salty. So I can literally just spoon some chili crisp on top of that, and that would work
Have
really,
you
really
ever
well.
made chili crisp?
Yeah, actually, I'm working on a recipe at the moment
For your
at
Feta
work.
book? Okay.
It's for my feta book. Yeah, it's gonna. No, this is for the chili crisp book.
Okay.
No, yeah,
You took my other idea.
yeah. So this is a chili crisp with a slightly different, with more Middle Eastern flavors going
Mm.
through. So we're trying to think what was were the best thing. We've been kind of my colleague Verena, who is worked with me on Comfort, is testing this recipe. We've been using cumin, allspice. We tried pine nuts, then we changed to almonds for a
Uh-huh.
little bit more crispiness. We've added caramelized onions, garlic, and it's still almost ready, but it's a really good thing, and it will be in the book. I
Well, you
promise.
know what's an underused nut in a lot of baking and cooking dishes are cashews. Like rice with cashews are really good. Chocolate cookies with cashews because they're tropical. I think they're a fruit. Actually, they're not
Yeah,
really a nut. It's a drupe, which has
yeah,
botanically speaking. But cashews are really good. Pine nuts, I always think it's hard to put them in a recipe because they're so expensive.
yeah.
And I try to eat the good ones, which are like extra expensive.
The really long one that
Yeah.
we had, the Italian, we when I was growing up, that's what we had. That was the what we was growing on trees in Jerusalem when I was growing up, and I have these memories of shaking the pine cones and getting all the pine nuts coming out, and then crushing them and eating them, which is
Do you
very
know
fun.
this mulio?
While he's getting something, I'm gonna eat.
Do you know that it's pine? It's like mugio. I don't speak
No,
Italian. Um,
no. What is it? Tell me.
it's pine bud syrup from the Dolomite Alps,
And
and,
wow,
and apparently it's very good in a martini.
is
It's
it
like
very dark, or is it just the
yes,
bottle is dark?
no, it's dark.
And so, what does it smell? You don't open it. Save it
No,
as a present because you're gonna
okay.
send it to me in the post, and I don't want it
I've
to
got a
leak.
Yotam Ottolenghi box going. I'm putting this in it.
Yeah, everything. But you're not getting my spice drawer.
Okay, and I have rusks for you too, which we were talking about the other day.
How did the rusks tell us about the rusk? I mean, it sounds very esoteric, but I'm sure you're going to make it approachable.
Well, people who don't know, rusks are a South African treat, and they're sort of a cross between a cookie and a biscuit and a crouton and maybe something else. And this is not to say anything, they don't look like the classic wonderful thing. Um, but
But they look actually very good.
Yeah, well, I made them look good. No, I made them a couple times and I figured out some of the tricks to make them good. They're not sweet, and you kind of expect things like this to be sweet. Um, but people in South Africa, you go to all the stores and they have bags of them on all the shelves. And
And
apparently there's somebody.
what do you do with like how do you eat them? Like you open your mouth.
Yeah, I think they're dipping cookies mostly or for breakfast, but
Okay.
allegedly there's a woman in Paris that makes them and you can order them from her and all the South Africans order them.
Well,
So,
I immediately think of tacos, the Greek rusks. I
ah,
don't know if you know them, yeah. And so in Greece there is the taco salad with the tacos with those rusks or rusks, and they are the best thing to soak the remains, the dregs of a Greek salad, with the bits of
mhm,
feta and lots of olive oil and tomato juices and bits of onion. If you throw a couple of those in there and let it soak up the liquid. It goes
uh-huh.
nice and soft. So you've got crunchy bits and soft bits and all the tomato juices and olive oil. It really, for me, that would be the ideal ideal way. Someone says it's going to say Cretan Kukovia, so that's the official name, but I will just call them crusts for ease, rusks for ease.
Well, what's interesting about these is you leave them in the oven for 5 or 6 hours after they're cooked.
Yeah,
And when you when you're developing recipes, as you probably do, you go down these rabbit holes sometimes in the internet. And I found out you can buy special pans for making these with like a cutter. It's like a metal grid, and then you put it on because you have to cut them before they're baked and then after. And
oh,
I was like,
like a biscotti,
yeah, but there was
like
a cutter. It's like a pan with a cutter. I was like, oh my god. And
oh, God, someone says that tacos is very different from rusk. Oh gosh, and from
yeah,
biscotti. And so forget everything that we've just said. But
yeah.
all I'm going to say, if from what I call rusks,
Well,
so
I think
the
a lot of people, there was discussions about some foods recently on Substack notes and so forth, and it was a little like granular to me. But a lot of foods, as you know, are from somewhere else.
yeah.
Like croissants, maybe they're from Austria. Cassoulet, beans were from the New World. They're not French. Foie gras is Greek, so forth. So food changes, people come in, they go. I'm leaving my uniquely American mark on French food, but I'm French now too, so I can do that. But it's interesting seeing the way food changes. And what's really interesting is like if the French have always not been fans of spicy food. And there are all these Szechuan restaurants opening here now, and it's like authentic spicy food. It's not toned down, and it's kind of interesting.
And so the French are have warmed up to that, and it's super popular.
Some, I mean,
Yeah.
you have to wait in line to get. There's a
Okay.
chain
Okay.
of a family that has a chain of restaurants called Taverne de Zhao, Zhao, and they do bang bang noodles and so forth. And it's authentic. They get really high quality Szechuan peppercorns and oils, and it's delicious. And there's a line. You got to wait 30 minutes, and yeah,
And I there is this that you can be quite purist about those things, but I there's always these stories like when we were talking about the rusks, and you said, oh, you need to leave them in the kind of warmish oven for those so many hours. And I remember when I traveled in Crete, I think it was, they actually those rusks they go into the oven after the bread is being baked, so it's like
yeah.
uses the heat. I think historically that would have been like a secondary use of the heat that remains in the oven. So
Well, there
those are
is.
great stories.
There is so much stuff around food and traditions. And when I was learning to make tadig, it was during COVID, and I took an online class with this woman who was great. She lives in Canada, Shema, and she told us to put a piece of paper in the pan first to make sure that it comes out. So I did that, and it came out, and it was beautiful. Now I have a skillet. It works. I don't need to use the paper. But when I mentioned this piece of paper online, this is like a 8-inch, 20 centimeter piece of paper. I have never heard so much discussion about a circle of paper. I was like, it's a circle of paper. Everyone's like, you're not supposed to use paper. It's like, it's, it's a circle of paper. It's so things change, it's like taco presses now. There's different ways to, make tacos and so forth. And they probably didn't have
Yeah.
taco presses at first. People did that like this. And somebody said, I'm going to do, here's a machine, here's a little gadget to make tacos. And
And
then,
I'm sure when it arrived, people would be so would be up in arms because that's not the way that it should be. And I
yeah,
think I find increasingly that being forgiving and forgiveness is so much more important when you think about these things, because after all we're all here to have delicious thing, and it doesn't matter how they come about as long
yeah.
as they work, and you kind of tell the whole story.
I have another idea. After your Feta book, it's going to be Ottolenghi Forgiveness. And that'll be your last book ever.
Yeah, that would be the one. I'll keep that for when I'm 80 years old, which is
Yeah.
not that far away.
And spell my name right too in the
Yeah.
acknowledgments.
This is a nice way to end, right? Like it's
Yes.
really been 50 minutes.
Oh,
Do you think we should, well, actually, maybe, yeah, I think we're nearly there. I mean, have we not talked about something?
did we what?
Have we forgotten anything?
I'm surrounded by food, so I think we've talked about everything. But your recipe is where? Is it in your newsletter, the feta, the omelet, so people know where it is?
Yeah, it's on the website, on the Ottolenghi website. So it would be one of the top recipes that when you go on the website. And your almond croissant is going to be where?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in my newsletter this week. So it'll be with exact quantities. And the great thing about the recipe, just for people who are like, we can't get croissant, it works with really bad croissant. I mean, if it works with like supermarket croissant, frozen croissant, because it's not about the quality, the flakiness, or so forth. Do try to get croissant that have all butter in them, because it does make a difference. But you can buy like the grocery store ones and
I,
have
th- I find
success.
it I find it very liberating that we have talked about obituaries and bad croissants, and we're still kind of on good terms, and everything is fine.
Okay. That can be the closing chapter for Ottolenghi forgiveness.
Bad croissants.
Well, it was great to talk to you.
Thank you,
I'll see
David.
you in
Thank you
10
so much.
years, I guess.
No, I think it's going to happen before.
Okay, well, I was in London last year for 2 days and I didn't get in touch, but because I know you're super busy. But I had really good
Next
food.
time.
Yeah, and I can actually hand deliver. You'll have to see me if I say I have some dishes for you. You'll like, okay, I got to see David. Uh,
I would really want that.
yeah. Okay, I got to get my list. I said,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All right,
Take care.
garlic press bowls and everything. All right, it was
Yeah,
nice to chat
bowls
with.
with some tears inside. Yeah, don't forget the tears.
Okay. All right. Bye bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.